just 4 trading sessions that we're talking about, given that yesterday was a holiday. So, well, it's been a crunching week, I think, to say the least. Nigel, hi.
Well, hi. We could easily have a 60-100 point recovery from the lows, but that, will not be really very encouraging even if we get past that. I'll tell you what, the markets in the near term have moved into a sell on rise mode, and that's likely to play out till we take out the recent support levels. Well, they'll become resistance levels right now. So the recent support, which was at around 17,750, well, that was a support. Now that becomes a bit of a resistance. So till we get past that level, then you'll be feeling a little bit confident. And on the Nifty Bank, 41,500, we went there numerous times, but we broke that, and now we've broken that decisively. So sell on rise is what the market is likely to play out, for the next couple of trading sessions. Till we get past those resistance levels, very, very importantly. But don't rule out maybe some bit of a relief in the final hour of trade. Let's see how this one swings. Prashant?
No, absolutely, Nigel. So it's volatile and fluid out there. Jonathan Schiessl is joining us now of Westminster Asset Management, and Rohit Srivastava of IndiaCharts.com. So we'll get you a fundamental take and a technical take as well from Jonathan and Rohit respectively. Guys, good to have both of you here. Let me come to you, Rohit, first. Does today's price action, I know you were tending towards being bullish or turning bullish. What does today's sharp price action do? Where does it leave us?
To tell you the truth, it makes you even more bullish. I know sentiment is completely the opposite on the street, but then buy low and sell high is always easier said than done. So you go by data points. If you look at sentiment, it was already negative, and something like this probably puts it in the cornerstone of extreme negative. So everybody is bearish on the street, and that is a good reason to be bullish. Now we can look at setups. For example, the number of large cap index stocks that are trading with daily RSI readings below 30, which means getting oversold, are many actually. It's all of them, like State Bank, Reliance, Kotak, ICICI, Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Finserv. I'm taking out names, right, which are showing up on my filter right now. Axis Bank, Asian Paints, all of them. RSIs are sub 30. Sub 30 readings for large caps typically very quickly turn around into bounce back. So this is happening now simultaneously across the board. And on the sentiment side, what we've been discussing is the volume of puts to calls has been very, very high. Similar data point was there for the US also at the start of the month. They've recovered. We haven't. We are still seeing the sentiment remain in a negative extreme. And that is the reason why I think we are now at the end of this correction, which started from December onwards, rather than at the beginning of something. The news flow, of course, makes it feel worse. But like I said, sentiment always gets extremely negative near the lows, and that's the reason to really remain positively biased, especially for medium to long-term investors who want to, pick into the market. Such sell-offs are very good buying opportunities. I mean, one of the reasons why this selling happens, at least on the leverage side, is imagine all the people who are leveraged long in Adani stocks. When they sell, they have to book losses, and they have to make up for those losses by selling stocks from their DP. And that is sort of why you get across the board selling, which people don't really realize why everything else is selling off today. It's essentially people need to book and pay for those losses, and that's what ends up happening, and that's where panic gets created. So this is the same, according to me.
Rohit, it's encouraging to hear you because you're sounding a little bit optimistic that, we are on the verge of maybe a bit of a turnaround. But tell us, if someone wants to buy, what should they buy? And on the index, do you have a call? Now we're closer to around 17,500 odd. In fact, I think we just touched that level and we're bounced 15, 20 points odd. So on the index, what's the call?
Yeah, so this level, earlier I think Prashant was talking about 200 DMA. It also coincides with a 61% retracement of the entire rise that we've actually seen in the Nifty. Okay, so we reached a 61% retracement. Bank Nifty slightly away from 61%, which would be at around 39,947. For Nifty, it was at around 17,560, just slightly below that. So plus or minus of these levels, it is a pretty good point where we start thinking that, the entire rise from October has retraced 61% is a good support point. So those are particular levels on the index. In terms of sectors, you look at the strength. I mean, two of the sectors which were the weakest sectors of last year, metals and IT, are holding out very, very strong today. Don't look at the Nifty Metal Index because it has Adani stocks. Look at the BSE Metal Index, which doesn't have Adani stocks, and then you can see the relative strength, in those sectors actually showing up. So I think those are directly two sectors that I would, get interested in.
Interesting. Hi, thank you very much for joining in. Jonathan, my question is to you. What have you, your investors, made of the Hindenburg research on Adani Group and the impact that's had on the market?
Hi. Yeah, I think it's clearly had a huge impact on the market. I think, we've been living in for quite some time an environment where there are quite a few short sellers reports out there. I think, India certainly has gone down a promoter-led model, has done for many decades. And from time to time, clearly there's going to be reports on out there that could potentially have an impact. I think anybody who knows the Indian market has been operating in it for some time. You sort of take these risks on board as such. But clearly, India has been, from over the last few years anyway, compared to other emerging markets, been a tremendous outperformer. And so I think it's been used as a bit of profit taking. I would also agree that, probably the bulk of the pain for the index has happened. But obviously, when you also consider that India has outperformed the likes of China so significantly over the last couple of years, the dedicated emerging market investors probably have been pulling money out of India and pushing it back into China. So I think probably most of that move, or a good chunk of that move, has already happened. So I wouldn't get too despondent. But yes, the Adani Group report probably will continue to have an impact for some time longer.
Jonathan, hi, good afternoon. Of course, Adani is catching all the headlines, but let me ask you this. Are there reasons or perhaps triggers behind the sell-off? Now, if at all it's budget nerves, and there's a lot of talk about how perhaps this year, before the general elections, we'll see some sort of a cut in taxes, personal income taxes. Is that going to be well digested by the market, or is there some fear around populism? What's your sense? I mean, what threat does the budget present, if any at all?
I think certainly from our perspective, the budget over time has become less important. Yes, the media does like to, it's a great news story, and clearly there'll be some sectors which it will be very important to see what happens in the budget. But the reality is, from a market perspective, over time it has become less important. But it is, a good headline. So from our perspective, we don't attach too much noise or too much attention to the budget.
Okay, fair enough. Point taken. Rohit, as a technician, you buy strength and you sell weakness, right? You began by saying buying low, selling high is difficult. That's the fundamental analyst in you speaking. And of course, I mean, the data points you highlighted are all great. Just looking at price action, I mean, is it fitting within what you track in the Elliott wave pattern? I mean, what is it telling you? Just pure price reading.
Yeah, which is why I highlighted things like the retracement, right? We are at 61% retracement in the Nifty, slightly away from it in case of the Bank Nifty. So these are potentially good levels once you consider that the trend is up. So it's all about mindset. If you think that the larger trend is up, you look at 61% as a good buying point. If you think that the trend is down, you will expect every level to break. So that always comes with what mindset do you take. The other part is really sentiment. So sentiment is the only thing which allows you to buy high and sell low. It's really not fundamentals. I think even if I ask fundamental analysts today, they would be panicking. So I've seen that time and over again. But you have to make that call that has sentiment reached far enough where a wave structure also completes. Because if you look at the fall from December, it's a complex structure. And if you ask me the breakdown of the last 3 days fall, we are in the 5th wave of this fall that started 3 days ago. And it's just not confirming that it is complete. Now, even if I go to an hourly chart, the RSI on the Nifty is now 15.5. That is extremely low. It's not even in the 20s. It's gone to near double digits, not single digits yet, but somewhere there. So it's very, very oversold even on an hourly chart. Okay. But again, we are waiting for that final confirmation that this 5-wave fall is complete, which would at least require a positive hour of trading, which we have still not seen. So tick by tick, we are watching for that at the shortest time period.
since I have you and I know that you look at sort of market reactions around important events, etc., you have in the past. Budget is next week, right?
Yes.
Anything you want to kind of bring in there? You looked at market performance into post.
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
So there we can go into a dozen of budgets, and the beauty of Indian budgets is they've always made sentimental highs and lows. So whenever you've seen a market that has been, say, rallying for 2-3 months, and you continue to run up into the budget, even if it's a fairly good one, you find that the markets peak out because everything gets discounted. Similarly, we've seen periods where markets have fallen. For example, 2016 February. The entire year of 2015 was down, and then on the day of the budget, we actually bottomed out. So the opposite is also true, that if markets are either falling or consolidating ahead of the budget, we have often seen post-budget rallies simply because all the negative gets priced in, and even if the budget has nothing negative, the market says, well, there was nothing negative, so let's go up. And if there's something positive, then all the more it tends to go up. So it has worked as a very good turning point for markets based on what goes on prior to the budget. And now this fall actually sets us up for a 2-month decline, which means we're in a down market ahead of the budget. So purely on that thesis, I would think post-budget it gets even better.
All right, Rohit, if someone is taking that contra call on the index, and since we're at those crucial support zones, when does this view get negated? I mean, where should the next level, or when does this contra buy strategy get negated?
So there could be, I have announced retracement. We would be at one of these retracements. We would start, feeling that, something's not right enough for us to stick to it. Say 66% retracement would be around 17,475. So that sort of gives us a little bit of room to think about this. I'll give it a day or two. If it doesn't work out in a day or two, I would have to rethink this strategy. So in terms of time and price, that is what I'll look at.
Sorry, what is that level, Rohit? What is that level?
Yeah, 66% is 17,475.
Retracement of which rise are you talking about? From the
September, October bottom, yeah. Which is
the 16,750.
Correct.
Okay, all the way to the high. Got it.
Okay.
Got it. Srivastava.
Jonathan, just a word on banks. Would you buy into this weakness, or do you think they've kind of run their course for a little bit, given last year's rally?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. The banks, certainly when I put my hat on from a foreign investor perspective, the banking sector is one that you have to own. And it did well, as you say, has had a good run, probably needs to consolidate a little bit. But certainly for anybody looking at India from a medium to longer term perspective, needs to own some of the good quality banks that India offers. And yeah, if these banks keep getting sold off, then perhaps these are probably good buying opportunities for a medium to longer term investment. But from a sector point of view, it's a crucial sector for all investors. Big sector, and you get a lot of exposure to broad aspects of the Indian economy within the banking side.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Jonathan, as well as Rohit, for stopping by and giving us your view on the index. Appreciate you guys stopping by and filling us in. For the time being, though, we'll slip into a short break. On the other side, we'll put the spotlight on the Adani Group as the stocks take a beating post that report coming in from the research firm that predicts a sharp downside to the stocks. We'll analyze a couple of the cement names with Rajesh Ravi of HDFC Securities. Devin Chauksy as well will be joining in of KR Chauksy. We'll discuss a couple of those stocks as well.
Adani Enterprises Limited, part of the Adani Group, which is among India's top business houses, driven by the philosophy of incubating businesses in 4 core industry sectors, is now undertaking a further public offering of partly paid up FPO equity shares of face value of ₹1 each for cash at a premium. The 100% book-built offer being offered in a price band of ₹3,112 to ₹3,276 per partly paid up FPO equity share, of which 50% amount is payable at the time of application and balance in 1 or more subsequent calls. Opens January 27th and closes January 31st, 2023. For risk factors and further details, refer to the red herring prospectus dated January 18th, 2023.
काफी बड़ा परिवार है मेरा, यही संसार है मेरा। हर दिन मेरी कोशिश है इसे हरा भरा रखने की, कुछ कोशिश घर को मजबूत बनाने की, कुछ कोशिश घर को जीता जागता बनाने की, कुछ कोशिश बड़ों की सेवा की, कुछ कोशिश छोटों को बड़ा बनाने की, कुछ कोशिश नई दिशाएं दिखाने की, कुछ कोशिश उत्साह जगाने की। देश नाम है मेरे संसार का, इंडिया नाम है मेरे परिवार का, टाटा कोशिश जिम्मेदारी निभाने की।
CNBC-TV18 presents Mutual Fund Funders.
Everybody would have heard of Nifty or sensex, a basket against which we can track the performance like mutual funds. Within mutual funds, there is a category which seeks to mimic or match the benchmark, and these are called index funds. Index funds provide broad market exposure because they mirror the performance of the benchmark. Because of this, they also have lower expenses.
CNBC-TV18 presents Mutual Fund Funders.
नवंबर 2022 में ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर समिट की उद्घोषणा के साथ पटकथा लिखी गई उत्तर प्रदेश के विकास के नए अध्याय की। विश्व भर में रोड शो का आयोजन, 10,000 से ज्यादा डेलीगेट्स और 17 लाख करोड़ से अधिक के निवेश का लक्ष्य।
उत्तर प्रदेश की पहचान से आप भी गौरवान्वित होते होंगे। उत्तर प्रदेश के नाम पर मिल रहे सम्मान से हर व्यक्ति इस बात को कहता है कि हाँ, उत्तर प्रदेश ने कुछ नया किया है और करना चाहता है।
विश्व भर के निवेशकों के स्वागत के लिए तैयार है उत्तर प्रदेश ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर समिट।
When timeless European design meets cutting-edge technology, it's QO. QO, European bath lounges.
मेरे पास सेलो है, गर्मा गर्म चाय।
सेलो वैक्यूम स्टील की थर्मोसील टेक्नोलॉजी रखे गर्म को गर्म और ठंडे को ठंडा 24 घंटे। सेलो वैक्यूम स्टील फ्लास्क।